So the question is, how do you engage in spiritual practice when you have a lot of anger? And I think one of the issues that I have found in my own spiritual practice and being taught by others is this idea that you're supposed to somehow subvert the anger or not feel anger or send love towards somebody that you are angry at or a situation. And that's a really nice idea. But to be honest, it's kind of a spiritual bypass as well, right? To just send somebody love while you feel this very strong emotion. So, in my experience, anger needs some distance in order to be able to come forward to the situation with more wisdom and more kindness. And many of the different techniques that I teach can create distance. But there's something about when we chant or when we sing that has a certain level of power that may supersede normal breathing practices, especially when we're feeling really fiery and really angry at a system, a person, or ourselves. And so I thought tonight what we would do was we would do some chanting and move from that chanting into some breathing practices. Now, I personally, and I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying this, I don't believe that chants have inherent power on their own, like words have magic power. And I know some people really do. And if you believe that, you can also use chanting from that perspective. But I look at it very much from a scientific perspective of the value. So those of you who are not pro chanting, maybe I can persuade you of the importance of it. So first of all, you're elongating the exhalation when you sing or when you chant. You're controlling your breath in that way. Singing, which is essentially part of what chanting is, uses more of the brain than simply talking, including associated memory centers. And if you're focusing on something when you chant on purpose, you're also bringing in your occipital cortex, the back, the visual area, which, if you were angry, is going to be running the story of what makes you angry. And sometimes you actually see it again and again and again. And so for me, chanting is a really useful way of coming out of that. And specifically, and I just did this last weekend with my students, doing chanting around the chakras, which may be something you're familiar with or maybe something completely new. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to chant the sounds of the chakras. And then we're going to do them going up and down the chakras. And then we're going to move into a powerful Ujjayi breath, which is appropriate when we're dealing with anger and need to calm down. And then from that place, we'll go into a little loving kindness. Now, if you're not angry and you're thinking, but I'm not angry, what's the purpose of this? It doesn't matter because it's still going to still your mind and use all those aspects of your brain. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with doing any kind of chakra chanting, I recommend that you get a pen and a piece of paper because you may not remember the words. And I'll say them so you can write them down. So I'm going to give those of you that don't have that awareness already about 2 minutes to just go get like an A4 piece of paper and any kind of pen. And for those of you that already know it and you're like, but I know it, well, good. Just remain with your eyes downcast or closed. And bring your attention inward while the rest, the people, prepare. Okay. I can only see those of you that have your screens on. So if you have your camera off, I don't know if you've received your paper if you have it, so I have to just make an assumption. So I'm just going to give about 30 seconds more before I begin. Okay. So you don't need to write anything just yet. For those of you who are going to, just listen first, and then you can. So different systems of yoga teach different things around the chakras. So if you're really knowledgeable about this, just bear with me. I'm coming from the system that I learned from, even if it's not exactly aligned with the system that you were brought up in. Okay. So there are 7 chakras. And in modern day, we usually associate those with the color of the rainbow and with the crown chakra, which is on top of the head, as being white, although some systems will have them being indigo. Okay. So the base chakra is like a reddish color as we imagine it. And we do want to bring the imaginal into this, whether you believe it to be truly red or it's something you just focus on. Okay. And it has a sound. That sound is lam. I'll go back to it a second, so don't write anything yet. And this is associated with our sense of like overall grounding in the world, like our sense of we belong in the universe. Okay. And so we would work on strengthening that if there was this sense of being forsaken, which can happen when we're angry, right? Then we have the next chakra up. I'm not going to give you the Sanskrit names because I want to really demystify everything tonight. It's right below your navel, and that surrounds security and community. And the color associated with it is orange, and the sound is bum. And again, if you're experiencing anger at your community, you can focus on that region. Then we move up a little bit higher to our solar plexus. Okay. And that's like a golden color. And unsurprisingly, that's around your power, right? And often when we feel very angry, we feel a lot of energy right here and we don't know what to do with it. In fact, here and here, that's a very common human experience, right? So bringing some life to here rather than trying to shut it down is useful. And the sound is ram. If you can roll your R. If you can't, just ram. Then we move up into the heart center, and that is unsurprisingly associated with a sense of love. And the color is a bright green, and the sound is yum. And when we feel that the love that we are giving out is not being given back, or we feel attacked when we were somewhat vulnerable, whether it's emotionally or in whatever way, we really feel it in our chest, right? And often those of us who are not reactive externally, we feel actual physical pain here. And then we move up to the throat region, right, which is expression. Again, not surprising, communication. And the sound or the color here first is like a beautiful blue. I like to think of it like as a turquoise blue. And the sound associated with it is hum. And this is our expression. So often when we're angry, we either say things too intensely that we later wish we had not, or we feel stuck here and we really wish we had spoken our truth, right? I feel like these 3 chakras really, in anger, there's a lot going on there. And then we move up to the third eye point here, right? This is an indigo color, and the sound is and this is our association with spirituality. And if we just try to go here when we're angry, what we do is we shut down the other parts, and actually we will find that it'll arise up again. And if you do a lot of meditation, you'll note that you can go into this like spiritual bypass place. I don't feel it. I'm not angry. I love everybody. And then the second that thing is triggered again, you go right back into that space because it's actually unresolved. Okay. And then finally, we have the place above the head. That chakra is our crown chakra, and it's our connection with the all of the universe. It's a crystal clear color, so really colorless in my tradition, or white if you'd like. And when we feel angry, we really feel disconnected from that allness anyway. So it's about bringing that back. Okay, so I'm gonna say the words again, and if you want to write them down next to the color, you can. so that you can remember them. If you already know, then no need. So at the base is Lam, it's red. Right below the navel is Vam with a V, and it's orange, VAM. The solar plexus region is a golden yellow, and that's Ram or Ram. The heart center is green, and that's Yam, but spelled like yam, usually in English, but spell them however you want. The throat is a crystal clear blue or turquoise, that's Hum. Sometimes I see it spelled like ham, which is confusing. I usually use HUM. Then we have Om here, and that is indigo. And finally, the crown chakra, the sound is kind of strange. It's usually spelled NG, and depending upon your tradition, in mine it's which sounds a bit like a Tibetan chant. Okay, so you'll only need to refer back to that actually when we go up and down the chakras, because otherwise we're going to do one at a time. It'll be easy. So it's been a lot of description. Have the eyes downcast or closed. And feel yourself sitting. And I'd like for you to think of this as a breath practice, because it is. It's more than that, but most of what I teach is more than a breath practice. And direct your attention to the root that's at the perineum region between the genitals and the anus. And this has a red color, red, like a red rose, if that helps you, like a raspberry. You can use something that you know has a color to help you visualize. And we're going to chant together 3 times. And if you're embarrassed because you're at home, you can do it light. You can just go, love, like that. But I'm going to be very loud. So. And now we're going to move up to the chakra just below the navel. And that's this golden orange. And you can think of an actual orange or an orange setting sun. A carrot, if that helps. And it's really, the chakras are kind of both in the center of your body, and also, you know, if you look at the texts, they energetically go beyond the body, both in the front and the back, if that's a useful visual for you. So let's do Vam together. Your place of community. So that's kind of where we are collectively. And now move up to the solar plexus region and think of something bright golden yellow. It can again be the setting sun. That's my favorite image for this chakra. And the sound is Ram, or Ram if you can't roll your R's. And it's Ram. And come to your heart center. Think of the greenest grass, maybe with a little bit of evening light hitting it. Come to the heart center, and that is Yum. So together. Yum. And to the chakra at the throat, and turquoise blue light. Communication. And moving up to the third eye point, the indigo color. And it's Om. And now coming to this place that connects you beyond your physical body, and the sound is nying or nyang, and it's a white crystal light. Well, crystal light is a drink in the United States. It's funny to say that. A terrible drink, by the way. So just sit here for a second and sense how it feels to have made all these noises. Move through these chakras. And again, for some of you, it might be really familiar. For others, a bit alien. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story with your eyes closed before we go through all of them at once. You know, I used to be really like anti-chakra anything. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't believe in it. I was a devout meditator, and I thought this was all a bit hokum. And then I went to Tanzania, and I took an anti-malarial drug that left me hallucinating for days. And I couldn't come down. I couldn't come down from that. Even after I left, everything was weird. I was in states of paranoia, and it was only my meditation that I already had under my belt keeping me sane. And I had this friend in a local shop who used crystals to work with chakras, and she told me she'd heal me. And I thought it was the biggest bit of hodgepodge I've heard, but I was desperate. And I was afraid to close my eyes because I was having all these strange experiences with reality. And I did 1 hour with her, and she brought me back. She just worked on my chakras in her own little way. And that was the day that I changed my whole belief system around them. And various other things happened over the years because I'm scientifically oriented. I'm not easily convinced of these things. So, with that in mind, we're going to go up all the chakras, and I find it a very powerful practice. We're going to do it together 25 times. And this is how it sounds. So, for those of you unfamiliar with the sounds, you might need your eyes open in the beginning to look at the different words, and it goes Lam Ram Ram Yam Ham Om Nyam. And we do each sound individually, a little bit slowly, so you have time to focus on each point. And as you go through it and you're familiar with the sounds, you can bring in the color too. It requires a lot of mental attention. And it is this with anger that helps me. So I hope as well that you find some usefulness in it. So let's begin together now. Lam Ram Ram Yam Ham Om Nyam. 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 Lam Ram Ram So just sense how this has affected you. We're all different, some very deeply, some none at all. For me, it brings me into deep focus, and I get very hot, which I always find interesting physiologically. I get very hot when I do it. And now we're going to bring in the Agile Breath. And generally, I keep Ujjayi very light when I teach it, but we're going to do it a little more strongly. And I want you to imagine that the breath is actually coming from the crown chakra rather than from the nose. And you're inhaling from there down all the way into the root chakra to Lam. And as you exhale out of Lam all the way up and out of the crown. Right, so we're creating this consistency now with breath. We've done it with chanting, okay? And we're going to practice like that for 5 minutes together. For some of you, the visualization will be really easy. And for others, it will feel a bit clunky. And that's okay, because the capacity to visualize, to imagine things at will, it's a skill. And it isn't something that just because we're not good at, we shouldn't do. Right? The ability to visualize things at will is a form of attentional control. And it helps us to direct our minds. So it's something we want to build. And here we're not building any kind of like life is good when we don't feel that way. We're just building visualization capacity. I find it very difficult to do this and imagine all the colors that they're moving through. But if some of you are better than I am at it, and you can actually imagine and see all the different colored chakras as you brought them down, go for it. All I can do is imagine a light traveling up and down. And don't do the breathing too strongly that it feels sore in the throat, or that you feel uncomfortable or have any tension in your sinuses. That's always a sign that you need to ease up on it, but it can be heat inducing and a tiny bit noisy, like the ocean. And I'll be quiet soon, but I'm just guiding you through some things. When we're really angry, we breathe in this way anyway when we're trying not to explode. We go. So we give some energy to this, but after we've already worked through the system. Keep visualizing. If the mind goes out, bring it back. You're focusing on going up and down this channel. Right? It's called Sushumna, or we can just call it our main channel in yoga. Got 2 more minutes. Keep going. Keep focusing. You can continue to keep your eyes closed, letting go of that breath. Just watching your natural breath now and how you feel. Because what you want from anger, first and foremost, is a bit of ability to be distant from it and calm, but you need some power behind that. Because anger evokes usually reactions that are not helpful for ourselves or others. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to change things, but it means that coming forward with fury, unless we're under immediate and imminent threat, is not useful. And anger begets anger. Unfortunately, as human beings, it's much easier to inspire anger and ill will than it is compassion. Research shows that. So we have to work actively. So when that thing that we don't like arises, rather than responding or reacting is probably more accurate, and causing suffering for ourselves and for others, because to act from anger generally will cause suffering for ourselves. Not always, but generally. We create some distance. And sometimes all we have is a bit more calm to act rationally. And I think it's so important that we don't push ourselves into loving kindness meditations towards the thing that has made us angry if we're not in that place. Sometimes we can enter it quickly and think, wow, well, that person or that system or this or that must have some circumstances behind it to have acted that way. And at other times, it just feels too hard. And so we start with just loving kindness for ourselves. It's always the best place to start. Right? How else can we dole it out? So as you continue to breathe with awareness, just thinking to yourself, may I be happy and peaceful, healthy and at ease. May I be able to take care of myself joyfully. And may I possess the patience, wisdom, courage, and determination to meet the challenges of my life. And realize how anger may not be providing us with wellness, and wish that anger arises less often. And then if we can't focus on the object again of our anger, we go out in this way. We think of the world and we say, anger is a normal human emotion and emotion for many animals. It causes much suffering. May all beings be free from anger. May they be able to be happy and peaceful, healthy and at ease. May they be able to take care of themselves joyfully. And may they possess the patience, wisdom, courage, and determination to deal with the challenges without the anger. And we can send that to all beings that well wish. May all beings be free from anger. May all beings be free from anger. May we be free from anger. May we learn how to step away from the fire of anger. Just keep breathing. Keep paying attention to your breath now. Anger is a very self-oriented, related thought process. And when we're in the midst of it, we usually can't see beyond our own needs. And in a world where there are so many of us, we need collective wisdom. We need to be able to have enough space to imagine somebody else's reality before reacting and causing harm. So this is my practice. And what I'd really like, when you feel inclined to do so, is to write in the chat how you work with anger when you feel it, because it's a very strong emotion. And it may be useful that somebody else hears from you. I was speaking to a spiritual teacher today who works with a lot of people like I do. And he said something and it really made me smile. He said, you know, Heather, both of us would be much more famous if we told everybody there was one solution to all problems and we told them to practice just that mind-body technique. He said, that's how you get famous. He said, but we can't ever do that because there is no one technique. And the true spiritual practice is being able to navigate with a variety of tools at our disposal for the many different situations we face. So again, I invite you to write in the chat if you have anything to share. It's okay if you don't. And I went out on a limb, as I've been doing in these few weeks, just teaching things that I don't normally teach, that I just practice. And I hope that it is of some level of benefit to you. I'm going to